This is Rainhill, and I've come to this little place because railway history was made here. Christian Woolmar is an expert on the Rainhill trials, the world's first steam locomotive race. Hey, Christian.
How do you do? Hi.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much. Why were there Rainhill trials?
Well, essentially, it was a very clever public relations exercise because they were building the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. They'd just about decided that they wanted locomotives rather than horses or stationary engines. So they decided to have a big launch of well, it was really a PR exercise, announcing several months in advance that there were going to be these trials for a locomotive in October 1829.
Set the scene for me. Were there bands, and were there balloons, and was there hullabaloo?
Oh, it was an absolutely huge event. There were people from Europe, from the United States. There was maybe 10, 15,000 onlookers, but also all these foreign visitors who had come to see, was this, the invention that was going to change the face of the world. And, they were proved right. It was an absolutely astonishing event in railway and indeed world history.
George Stephenson, chief engineer for the Liverpool to Manchester line, entered his steam locomotive, the Rocket. It won hands down, achieving a top speed of 29 miles per hour. The Rocket became the prototype for all future locomotives.
It was a one iron horse race because the others blew up one by one. He got the £500 prize, probably worth about £20,000 these days, and crucially, the contract to build more locomotives for the Liverpool and Manchester.
You paint a really vivid scene, I wish I'd been there. Christian, my train is here.
All right, wait,
I better scoot. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye. This railway is valued, both for what it is today and for the ambition of those Victorian engineers. When you look out at this terrain, you have to wonder how they could ever have dreamt of building a railway line through it. And particularly because, apart from steam engines, they had very little machinery, so the boring of the tunnels, the building of the viaduct, had to be done by vast numbers of navvies, working in very difficult conditions with a very heavy death toll. It must have seemed madness to build a railway straight across the weather-beaten Yorkshire Dales. But the Midland Railway Company wanted a high-speed link to Scotland to compete with its rivals, and desperate needs generate heroic solutions. 6,000 men built 14 tunnels and no fewer than 20 viaducts, including one of the longest in Britain at Ribblehead. An unusual station, Ribblehead, because the two platforms are separated by quite a distance. But just beyond that platform is just the top of the Ribblehead Viaduct. You get no impression from here of how very tall it is. You can just see the tops of the arches on this very glowering day. It took 4 years and a third of the workforce to build the viaduct. It's one of the Victorians' greatest achievements. As I come round this last brow, I get my first full view of the Ribblehead Viaduct for 20 years. 24 magnificent arches spanning the valley. And even from here, it's difficult to get the sense of scale because the highest of these arches I know is 100 feet tall. And even though I'm almost, it seems, within touching distance of it, it's difficult to appreciate the vastness of this and to think that just hundreds of men had to pile these immense blocks on top of each other to create that incredible, beautiful structure. By the 1980s, this Victorian feat of engineering was in danger of falling down. The thing completely dwarfs him. He looks like a speck. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
Long time no see.
20 years nearly.
Tony Feschini was the man sent to inspect it. Now, when I met you, you were a British Rail engineer.
Yes.
And we were being told that this viaduct needed £7 or £9 million spending on it in those days. But you
Yes.
had a different view, didn't you?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be allowed to do a trial repair here, which allowed me to understand fully the important parts of the structure.
And what did you find?
I found that it would cost between 2 3/4 and 3 1/4 million. And we achieved it in the end.
With the cost of repair revised down to a third of previous estimates, the case for closure weakened and rebuilding began. So as you began to research it, were you impressed by what the Victorians had done?
Absolutely. The first thing that catches you here is the weather. And we're pretty well clad today, even though it's we're getting wet. And I could imagine people living on this moor throughout the year in winter. It'll be pretty daunting. It's bad enough living here in summer.
What kind of difficulty would it have been building this?
Of tremendous difficulty. If you can imagine the site in the 1870s, the whole of the area would be wild countryside. To come here and set up a site to build a structure of this size and magnitude in an area like this would have been a formidable task in any age.
Many of the navvies who built the viaduct came here with their families. Shanty towns appeared all along the route to house thousands of people, working through the gales and snow to build the line by hand for years on end. It was back-breaking work. They're pretty big blocks of stone, aren't they?
Extremely big blocks, sort of 2 cubic metres, massive. It's built in groups of 6 arches for safety. Every 6th pier is a wider pier. That gives stability to the structure. If you lost 1 arch, you could lose 6, but no more. It would be better than 24.
Even with modern machinery, Tony still faced a huge challenge to restore the viaduct. So tell me this, if you've got to take a block of stone out and replace it, how on earth do you do that?
Well, we used like a mining technique. What you have to do is a man will start to nibble away the stone bit by bit, but you work in and prop it. Prop the ones above from the one below, and carefully work your way in so you don't disturb the ones above you. One thing I didn't want to be was the man who demolished Dribblehead Viaduct while I was working here.
You still inspired by it?
I am. It's a super structure, really.
It is truly magnificent. Remarkably, it's still possible to find descendants of those hard-working navvies. James Rixon's family helped to build the line 140 years ago. I'm taking the 720, so I've got quite a long time yet. Can I buy you a drink?
That's fine, thank you.
What will you have?
I'll have half a bitter, please, Michael.
2 halves of bitter, please. Thank you very much. They tell me you're the great-grandson of one of the people who built the viaduct?
My great-great-grandfather was Robert Rixon, and he was the manager of what was called the Sebastopol Brickworks. We've checked the censuses for 1871, and believe it or not, there were 14 members of his family up here working on the railway in various jobs, ranging from adults working as pure navvies to being in a managerial position and just children.
Out of all the family members who worked here, did they all survive?
No, they didn't all survive. There was a severe smallpox outbreak in the hutments, in the encampments, in 1871, and 3 of the 5 children that had come up with the family died in that epidemic within the space of 6 weeks.
How dreadful.
Yes, it was not good news for the family, and those children were all buried in the little chapel down the road at Chapel-le-Dale.
The railway work camps were plagued by repeated outbreaks of smallpox, starvation, and violence, leading to many deaths. You can get an idea of the dreadful toll at the chapel closest to the viaduct. And this is a lovely little church. It's the parish church of St. Leonard's, Chapel-le-Dale. Very historic, dates back to the 15th century. And it helps to tell the very terrible story of the building of the settled Carlisle Railway. Gerald, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Michael.
Historian Gerald Tyler has pieced together what happened all those years ago.
The importance of the chapel is that of all the chapels along the line, this, unfortunately, sadly, has got the most number of deaths. There were something like, between 1870 and 1875, 201 deaths. Now, some of those were, in fact, obviously the navvies themselves who suffered the most appalling accidents. And, of course, because there were so many families, then there was a shantytown settlement. I mean, there's one report of the health doctor coming round and being appalled by what he saw, that there were overcrowding in the huts. There were 3 rooms in these standard huts. And you might have a family with, say, half a dozen children, and then they take in lodgers for another 8 single men.
That must mean there was disease around.
There was indeed. Of the 200 or so that died in that particular period, 110 of those were children under the age of 13.
So many people lost their lives here that the railway company paid for the graveyard to be extended. But even that wasn't enough.
Down there are dozens of bodies of people who lie in unmarked graves.
Under all this bracken?
Yeah, that's right. And there appears to be one particular mound that suggests that there may have been a mass grave.
It's very moving, actually, isn't it? Very moving.
It is. It is indeed.
I'm now on the line that runs from Ely to King's Lynn, and Bradshaw says of this, it's the most important section of the East Anglian line as it brings a very valuable district of the eastern part of the country into railway communication, not only with the metropolis, but with the northern and western parts of the kingdom. And as I run along here, I can see that the line is built up on banks. And I'm thinking about what a major achievement it was to build this heavy railway across such boggy country.
Once the fens were drained, rural towns could be connected by railway. But given the lie of the land, it's still prone to flooding, and each generation has improved the engineering that keeps the sea at bay.
The next station is Downham Market.
I'm on my way to the Denver Sluice, first built in the 17th century and strengthened again in 1834. It's a strategic point in the defence of the fens.
Hello, are you Dan?
Hi.
Dan Pollard is the lock keeper here.
What we've got here at Denver is a lock and then 3 sluices.
And what is a sluice?
Well, a sluice is a way of controlling the river upstream of the gates. So we can either open up the gates to discharge water, or we can keep them closed to maintain levels upstream.
So river that way, sea that way.
Yes, yeah, we're down towards King's Lynn.
The 18th century drainage schemes were brilliant, but they lacked machinery. By the 1800s, steam technology was beginning to revolutionise the water management of the fens.
Bradshaw's makes an interesting reference too to the country really being saved or designed by steam. Now, I imagine what he's talking about are huge pumping engines, would that be right?
Yes, and what happened is when Sir Cornelius Vermuyden started the fen drainage, they put wind pumps on to drain water off of the land, transfer water from the land up into the drains and the rivers, and then eventually they went over to steam power, and there's a large engine at Streatham, and that was the steam power to pump water off of the land.
And I would guess that the arrival of the steam engine with all that power must have been a bit of a turning point, was that right?
It was a turning point in the watershed, in the fact that they could drain the water off a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently than the wind pumps could.
Yeah, not so much a turning point as a watershed.
Yes.
With the introduction of steam pumps, the sluice was redesigned by Sir John Rennie. He added 3 new gates and widened the lock, creating a system that to this day safely controls the water level.
Now, supposing all this paraphernalia weren't here, what would the consequence be?
Well, pretty much the fens would be the fens as they were before Vermeulen was here. The land would be saturated, flooded for good portions of the year. The structure that we've got here can hold back up to 5 metres worth of tidal water. So if you imagine that 5 metres heading up towards Ely and Cambridge, it would cause catastrophic events up in all that populated area.
So in your hands lies the survival of Ely Cathedral and of Cambridge University.
Yes.
Not much pressure there.
No. Yeah. Well, it is. There's obviously a fair amount of pressure when there's huge amounts of rainfall falling in that area. If I was to, we do here is keep people's feet dry in all of Ely and Cambridge.
Once the danger of flooding was removed, the value of land shot up, and Norfolk grandees became rich. My Bradshaw says, "The productive and remunerative farming of the fens of Norfolk is one of the greatest triumphs of steam. Lands have been enhanced in value, not only 100%, but even 100-fold." As wheat spread across its acres, Norfolk became known as the breadbasket of England, and over 400 windmills were in use. I'm spending the night in the county's only commercial working mill. In its day, its proximity to the railway made it very profitable. Hello.
Hello, Michael.
Lovely to see you.
I do.
You're Mark, aren't you?
Yes, indeed.
Congratulations on having a working windmill. Absolutely amazing.
The last one in Norfolk, and we are very proud of it.
Mark Abel has leased the Denver windmill for 2 years.
Fantastic. Oh, wonderful.
I get a thrill every time I come up here still.
I mean, it's formidable power, isn't it? I think the wind is driving that wheel and driving this, and then that's all down connected to the stones beneath.
That's it. Of course, basically, that is a sailing ship. It's the technology. It's trapping the energy of the wind with canvas, transferring it through a wooden structure, built like ribs and boards like a ship.
My Bradshaw's guide, of course, is very keen on steam. Was this ever converted to steam?
This wasn't. It's quite interesting then that within 25 years of this being built in 1835, a separate mill was added onto the side, steam powered. It had 3 sets of horizontal stones, the same as the windmill did, but was completely independent and just powered by steam.
Beautiful. I'm staying just close by, aren't I, in the Miller's Cottage?
In the mill cottage, just down the yard, yeah.
And I expect there'll be bread for breakfast.
Oh, there will indeed.
Are you very aware of the history of this place?
I know quite a bit of it. I've spent many a year here. I'm in my 32nd year now. I've just started 1978 on the station.
The railways here go back even longer than you do, back to 1825.
I'm glad to do as well.
My 19th century Bradshaw's guide says this is the first locomotive rail in England.
Uh-huh.
But actually that's to understate it. It's the first locomotive rail in the world.
Maybe, but England always comes first, doesn't it?
That's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Close by is the resting place of some of the earliest engines, where I'm meeting railway expert Mark Allett.
How did it come about that there was a railway between Stockton and Darlington?
It was the usual thing around that period. It was the need of industry, the growing industry for coal, and the canals weren't particularly fast at transporting things, and hence the decision was made to build a railway in its place.
Initially, it was thought horse-drawn vehicles would ply the new line, but engineer George Stephenson was convinced that steam was the future and devised a new engine called Locomotion No. 1.
Locomotion's one of the most important locomotives, the first one to haul passengers on a public railway back in 1825, so it really is the grandfather of all the railways that we've got today.
And what we're looking at here, is this a replica of Locomotion?
No, it's the real engine, and it's been preserved since 1841, so isn't it fascinating to think that even when that was only 16 years old, people had realised the important part that that engine had played in history.
It's in the most beautiful condition.
It really is, isn't it?
Am I allowed to?
I think you are, absolutely.
It's quite thrilling, actually.
Although the new railway was designed for freight, it soon began to take passengers too, who were doubtless also thrilled, even though the first train took over 2 hours to travel just 12 miles.
What was it like when they began to take passengers? Did they have carriages ready for them?
Well, not quite. I mean, what you'll see, and I'll show you if you want to come down this way, is actually that coal trucks like this were some of the vehicles that were carrying the first passengers. Some of them would have ridden on top to start with, and some of them would have been empty with people inside.
How quickly did things advance?
Really quickly. I mean, one of the things I think there's a good analogy is looking at how computers have really changed very, very quickly in the last few years, or how mobile phones have shrunk. So in only 10 years, you went from a really fragile locomotive like that, like locomotion, through rocket, which had all the essential components of the end of steam, effectively, to locomotives like Derwent that were operating in collieries only 10 years later. And look at the size of it compared to
size
locomotion.
and sophistication.
From these small beginnings, the railways spread rapidly across Britain. By the time my Bradshaw's Guide was written in the 1860s, the country was linked by nearly 10,000 miles of track. It was a railway revolution, with the most deep-reaching industrial and social consequences. By now, you may know that I'm thrilled by steam trains, and so my pulse is quickening.
Bradshaw says of the Gromont to Pickering line that it passes through the most picturesque scenery. The vales of Newton and Goathland present a wild country with bold ranges of rock on either side. It was referring to what is now called the North Yorkshire Moors Railway.
That'll do.
You're going to drive this handsome beast, are you?
Yes, it's a nice handsome beast. It was built for the Southern Railway in 1934. Spent all its life in the south of England, and now it lives in Yorkshire.
And they tell me that amongst the heritage railways in Britain, the North Yorkshire Moors Railway is the one that's most popular now.
Yes, we carried around 350,000 passengers last year, and we made a little bit of money, but we spend it all back in on the railway. It's our love, and we do it for a lot of us do it for nothing. I'm a retired railwayman, and I used to drive trains for a living, but I've driven these all my life as well.
Shall we get on board?
Yes.
Chris Cubitt has been driving steam trains here since 1969.
Once we've got her up and running on her feet, we'll put it across and she'll just romp up the hill.
Right. Meanwhile, Harry is shoveling the coal in. Thank you. Lovely heat, isn't it? Wow.
It's going to get a lot hotter than that.
It's going to get hotter. Yes, okay.
About 3,000 degrees.
3,000 degrees in there.
The engine talks to you and tells you everything you want to know.
Talks to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Talks to everyone, not just me.
But only you can hear what it's saying.
No, if you listen to the chimney, it's nice and soft.
Yeah.
If you put some more steam in, it goes harsh.
Yes, yes.
And the louder it is, the more Harry has to shuffle.
When I get the chance, it's great to do something I've never done before.
The heat from the boiler is intense, and the coal is heavy, and the locomotive is very hungry, very demanding of coal. And I have a lot of admiration for Harry, because it's very hard work.
Hard work.
Hard work.
When you've got to get it right to the front as well.
Oh, right. I'll leave that bit to you.
In the 30 years after one of the first public railway lines opened between Stockton and Darlington, Britain was transformed. Bradshaw's readers would already take for granted rail journeys behind powerful and reliable locomotives. In a generation, the train had become an essential part of daily life.
Ever since I was a boy with a train set, I've loved steam engines. But now, as an adult, travelling along track that was built by George Stephenson, I share Bradshaw's admiration for the pioneers of locomotion. They built the future.
In the early 19th century, my next stop was just a quiet fishing town until the railways arrived. As Bradshaw says, The opening of the South Eastern Railway and the establishment of a line of packets between this port and Boulogne has been the means of rescuing Folkestone from its previous obscurity. But the creation of this line, with those 4 long tunnels cut into the chalk, did more than transform Folkestone. It inspired a daring and ambitious project to dig a tunnel all the way to France. Hello, Paul.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm meeting countryside ranger Paul Holt to hear the story.
The very first real attempt was in 1880, just the other side of Abbots Cliff, and they sunk a vertical shaft down and cut parallel to the shore through the cliff but above the high water mark, and that worked very well. They're very pleased with the boring machine. Then in 1881 they actually moved all the workings to this, what was the Great Fall, that bit of land at the bottom of the cliff. Again, they sunk a vertical shaft down. They cut out towards the tip of the Admiralty Pier on the edge of Dover. So yes, 1881 was the next kind of big major attempt.
And building the tunnels must have been just a huge logistical problem. They must have massive teams of people here.
I would think so. The numbers must have been huge. I mean, if they were doing it by hand, I mean, there's no other way around than having lots of people working on it.
How far did these channel tunnellers get in 1882?
They got 897 yards, which is just over half a mile out. So pretty good, really.
Worry that the French might use the tunnel to invade caused the plans to be abandoned in the following year, 1882. So when was the next attempt to build a channel tunnel?
In the early 1970s, 70 to kind of 73, 74, they sunk an adit down and they cut out towards France, basically. So yeah, it was another hive of industrial activity on this little bit of cliff.
The second attempt had barely got a mile before it too was given up. It took 113 years, but that Victorian vision was finally realised in 1994 when the Channel Tunnel opened for business. The Channel Tunnel. When I was a junior minister, I helped put through the legislation that made it all possible. Very complicated, the engineering, the customs, the immigration, the passport control, the policing, the fire services, and here it is, it's all up and working. John Keith works for Eurotunnel. John?
Michael.
You're going to be my guide to this today. I came down here when it was being built, but I haven't been in the tunnel except as a passenger since. It's rather exciting for me.
Well, hopefully it's going to be very exciting, because instead of putting you on one of the trains and going through as most of the passengers do, we're going to take a car and actually drive into the Channel Tunnel.
Drive through. Sounds good. Before entering the tunnels, we will spend a few moments in a safety airlock.
This is the airlock that leads into the service tunnel. The reason it's there is because the service tunnel serves as sort of a safety lifeboat for the Channel Tunnel. And it means that we can manage evacuations from trains in complete safety and through clean air.
We're so used to thinking of the Channel Tunnel as a rail tunnel, it has never occurred to me that there is actually one little bit of it where you can drive from England to France.
Absolutely.
John's taking me far into the tunnel to see the traces of those first Victorian efforts. So where have we got to?
Well, this section here is the 1882 tunnel crossing the 1974 workings. So the 1974 workings actually follow the line of the current tunnel, but in 1882 they were digging test tunnels out towards Dover Harbour Wall from Samphire Hoe, and this is where the two tunnels intersect. So if you look up here on the wall, the segments actually still have the date clearly visible, 1974.
I had not realised that they'd made so much progress in 74.
They came a long way.
And so you've not had to replace this 1974 working?
No, this is as it was. We haven't touched it. It's a little piece of history inside the history that's the Channel Tunnel.
And if I were to remove these, a dangerous thing to do, but I would be able to peer into the 1882 tunnel, would I?
Yes.
That's quite moving, actually, isn't it? Because
I mean, we are in one of the engineering wonders of the world now, but 115 years before this tunnel opened, they've been down here digging with their Victorian technology.
Yeah. And they were right as well, because they were going through the layer of chalk that every successive attempt has been through.
Despite all the technological advances since those Victorian pioneers, it eventually took 8 years to complete the 30-mile stretch of tunnel to France.
I should say, by the way, that I bear some of the scars of trying to get this legislation through Parliament. How do you think the people of Kent and the people of England have settled down now to the Channel Tunnel?
I think it's always interesting to look back at those reactions. The fact that the British didn't want it, to today's situation where 85 to 90% of our customers are British, from the southeast of England, from the Midlands, from as far north as Scotland, it is absolutely unique. It's massive, yet it's invisible, and it is honestly one of the wonders of our modern days.
A renaissance in rail.
We hope so.